The Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be huge for Square Enix. There are a number of things that I have seen with Square Enix over the years where you can kind of tell where they're going or where they've put their chips when it comes to the table, where they think the future is going to be. And Nintendo has often been the odd person or odd system out when it comes down to it. But things are definitely changing, and this is absolutely going to be massive for the Nintendo Switch 2 and Square Enix as they really enact their new business strategy, their 3-year term plan where they're completely changing things up and having a different style to how they're going to be releasing and marketing their games. Now they're doing more multi-platform. They want to do more of their big franchises. They want to have more higher quality, less quantity overall after the debacle that we saw in 2022 where there were so many games that they were releasing they couldn't even keep track of it. So what's happening right now is definitely something that is interesting, especially if you're a Nintendo Switch 2 player, or of course you just like multi-platform when it comes to the game releases. So let's go in and jump right into the confidence that Square Enix is exuding at this point when it comes to the system, because this is something that I have not seen Square Enix do when it comes to the beginning of a system, and especially a Nintendo system. I don't think I've seen them do that at all in the decade and a half that I've been covering games, because once again, they usually put their chips on the table of a PlayStation system and even Xbox at times, but this is completely different. So on Twitter, Square Enix recently said this about the Nintendo Switch 2. This was from their official Twitter account. Looking for something to play on your shiny new Nintendo Switch 2? Here's what we have out now and coming to the new console. So what does that tell you right there? One, the confidence that they have, of course, like, hey, look, we want you to play our games. They separated between the native actual games that are on the Switch 2 and the backwards compatible games. But we've got 2 titles from them that's coming out in the calendar year or launch year of the Nintendo Switch 2, which is really good when it comes to Square Enix, as they usually like to wait a little bit before they have something for a Nintendo platform. We did not see this necessarily with the Nintendo Switch 1. I mean, we had the I Am Setsuna stuff, but that's not at the level of a Bravely Default remaster in addition to Final Fantasy. So on Twitter, there were 4 games. These are the native titles that are coming or already on the Nintendo Switch 2. They first started with Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Of course, nice picture of Cloud there. Then they went over to Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake, which is coming out later in the year. That's going to be really good. Next up, they had the Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster, which I'm very much looking forward to playing on the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. I love the original Final Fantasy Tactics. They're bringing that back. Not perfect, as it's missing some of the extra content that was released afterwards, but it's still going to be a very good tactics game. And then, of course, ending off with Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD Remaster, which is out now at this point, and that's one of the better turn-based RPGs from the Nintendo 3DS. They remastered it, looks way better, runs better. It's got the nice visuals, it's got the nice music, everything's touched up for it. It's a fantastic game with a great art style, and that is on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is one of the top sellers when it comes to the eShop and everything. So I'm definitely going to get back into that, but I've already 100%ed the game on the Nintendo 3DS, and there's so many other games to play. But then if you go to Square Enix's site, they actually detailed all the backwards compatible games as well. So stuff like Life is Strange, a number of Final Fantasy games, even Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition. They talk about Theorhythm, Final Bar. They've got all sorts of stuff. Dragon Quest games as well, Star Ocean. So this is something that Square Enix is actually serious about when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 and supporting this system with this type of post, talking about, hey, look, you want something else to play, check this out. And I think that this is going to be something for the course of the life of the Switch 2 where Square Enix is going to be going hard at this. They didn't take the Nintendo Switch 1 very seriously at the beginning. Yes, we had Octopath Traveler 1, which that was a cool HD 2D game, something new that Nintendo and Square Enix was working on, but everything was kind of more on the smaller AA scale. But with this, we're talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade in the first number of months of the Switch 2 life. To be able to put that type of resources to get a Switch 2 version shows that Square Enix is more serious about this platform than they were with the Nintendo Switch 1, whereas all they really had was like, hey, look, we got some smaller titles that we're going to be doing, and then Dragon Quest is going to come over eventually overall. But they're not playing around this time. Final Fantasy already in the first number of months, in addition to Bravely Default, Final Fantasy Tactics. I mean, they've got all sorts of stuff, and I don't think it's just going to stop here. I do believe that the next Dragon Quest game will probably be announced at a Nintendo Direct, or first shown at a Nintendo Direct, or some type of thing that they're doing there. They see what's happening in Japan with the sales numbers. And once again, it's not about necessarily just focusing on one platform over the other, but they definitely are looking at the Nintendo Switch 2 and saying this is a huge business opportunity for us going forward with our new plan. As if you're looking at the console sales, of course, they're always going to support PlayStation. That's where a lot of their base is. But with the shifting sales numbers that we've already seen with the Nintendo Switch 2 and the Nintendo Switch 1, the last generation, Square Enix is definitely trying to fine-tune things to get more games out on Nintendo platforms and start it from the very beginning so they can build up that base. Whereas more with the Nintendo Switch 1, it was a little bit different, but they still had success with stuff like Dragon Quest 11, for example. That sold big on the Nintendo Switch 1. So I absolutely see them doing well on the system now that they're actually taking it seriously from the very beginning with some of their biggest games overall, like a Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, and I see them following it up with Dragon Quest 12. I also see them doing some other things as well. We could even get the return of a uniquely built type of AAA game for the Nintendo Switch 2. So we'll see if that happens as well. But this is definitely good news that Square Enix is on board early, and I can't wait to see what they do next with the platform. But if you're enjoying this type of content, please make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you are someone new, and let me know what your favorite Square Enix video game is in the comment section below. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next topic here, because Bandai Namco has some surprises for us. We got some more showcases that are going down this summer. Bandai Namco Summer Showcase 2025 has been officially announced for July 2nd, and I'm looking at my calendar. That is going to be Wednesday, July 2nd at 12 p.m. PT, 3 p.m. ET, 8 p.m. in the UK, and 9 p.m. in Europe. Now, apparently, a brand new My Hero game is going to be announced at the presentation, or at least teased for it or something like that. So, a brand new My Hero game. They've essentially got multiple duds when it comes to My Hero. I love the My Hero anime. I think it's fantastic. It's essentially, for those who don't know, it's like X-Men with teenagers. It's awesome. And one of the things, though, is not awesome is the games. I've played the games, My Hero 1 Justice, and I've played the Battle Royale game. It's not very good. So I'm hoping that they actually have something high quality for us when it comes to My Hero. Because right now at this point, while they're okay, the My Hero 1's Justice games are okay and somewhat fun to play, they're not super high quality to the level that the anime actually is. So I would like to see them actually bring out something that's really good. So I'm hoping that this tease that they're doing for My Hero game, I'm hoping that it's actually a really good My Hero game and not a Battle Royale My Hero game. That is just, oh my goodness. Anyway, now there are going to be more games here. We've got Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, Little Nightmares 3, Patapon 1+2 Replay, Shadow Labyrinth, Super Robot Wars Y, Tekken 8, Code Vein 2, The Blood of Dawnwalker, and Death Note Killer Within. So a number of those games are going to be on Nintendo Switch 2. There's been some rumors about Tekken 8 coming to Switch 2. Don't know if they're going to have an announcement there, but expect to see some familiar games that we already know about. All of those games have already been announced, so don't expect a ton of brand new announcements. This is essentially just a showcase, or just more of an advertisement, essentially like a nice, spiffy, big, long trailer for the games they want to be able to sell, to let people know about it, to have like a little bit of an event around it. So don't go in expecting some type of massive Nintendo Direct where there's multiple different announcements and it's, oh my gosh, look at this, and world premieres and all this different type of stuff. It's not that, guys. It's essentially a marketing tool for their games. That's it. Do not expect a Nintendo Direct style of thing. Do not bet big on the showcase or something like that. Remember, guys, it's not a publisher like Nintendo with Nintendo Directs. It's just a publisher, third party, that has their own games that they're going to be talking about to sell to people. That's it. So don't go in with crazy expectations like some people were with the Arc System Works showcase and ended up being let down completely. So just keep that in mind, guys. All right. So what do you think about the Bandai Namco Summer Showcase 2025? Let me know in the comments section. Now we're going to move on to the next topic here, and that is Dave the Diver. That's getting a free upgrade on the Nintendo Switch too. So very nice to see here. So more information about this patch is going to be shared this upcoming week along with the game's anniversary. According to Mint Rocket, when played on Nintendo Switch 2, there will be a higher frame rate. The upgrade is expected to be distributed in a few months. Now, there are some other things happening with Dave the Diver right now as well as part of the anniversary updates. You can pick up the free limited time Godzilla DLC, and that'll be up to grabs for some time until 2026. So if you missed out on that one, you can get back in on it. There's also the Jungle DLC that was announced, so that's still happening as well. That should happen in early 2026. So Dave the Diver is available both physical and digital on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, PlayStation. You can pick it up, and yeah, it's pretty cool that they're actually upgrading and getting a free update for the game. But now we're going to move on to a topic that I also covered a bit before, but when I covered it, it was so interesting. Death Stranding 2 came out and supplanted the game Donkey Kong Bonanza when I wanted to talk about the sales of the game being the best seller on Amazon. So it was kind of unfortunate, not because it sold above it for that time period, but that's what everyone was talking about, and I wasn't able to capture it with it being number one. However, we've got the return of the King Kong, more like Donkey Kong when it comes down to it, because that is back in at the number one best-selling spot on Amazon. Now, here's the thing with this. I think Death Stranding is going to sell fantastic. People are loving that game. That's going to be a Game of the Year nominee. But the interesting thing here with Donkey Kong Bonanza is that this game with the Nintendo Switch 2 has a lower install base than obviously all the other systems that are out there right now that's currently in the market with Xbox and PlayStation. But people are going crazy for pre-ordering this game. I've got another friend of mine, Mr. Wright, that talked about at one of his GameStops, they had over 200 pre-orders for this game, and it seems like the distribution for this and the ramp up for Donkey Kong Bonanza is going to be massive. This could be an instant million seller when it releases. The game is coming out in a couple weeks here, and anticipation is ramping up for this title to see it already be number one as soon as they had that Nintendo Direct focused solely on Donkey Kong Bonanza, and more people going out there and pre-ordering it. I think that this is going to be a massive spike for the Donkey Kong franchise. We needed this too when it comes to Donkey Kong, because this franchise has essentially been stuck in limbo for more than a decade. After Tropical Freeze, there's really been nothing except for cameos when it comes to Donkey Kong. So to finally get a new concept, a new theme, a new heroine with Pauline, more like bringing her back, but also making it fresh by having her be a 13-year-old that focuses on her singing power, and Donkey Kong actually being as strong as Donkey Kong is supposed to be. This is essentially a whole new style of IP for them, but putting familiar characters in order to get people, I would say, instantly interested in the game. So I think this was a genius move when it comes to how Nintendo first positioned this game overall, the concept of the game, what you do in it, and essentially how they marketed the rollout for it. So this is definitely a good thing for Donkey Kong, and I'm hoping that this turns into more of like a franchise to where we don't have to wait 10 plus years to get another Donkey Kong game. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze just essentially came out at the wrong time for the wrong system overall. With the Wii U, low sales when it comes down to it, when it comes to Retro Studios and what they were working on, having to move over to Metroid Prime and who's going to make the Donkey Kong games. So it was just an awkward transition from the Wii U. Then they essentially had to do the same thing on the Nintendo Switch. But then they decided, hey, we're going to move the development back over to Japan when it comes to Donkey Kong, and this is what we're going to create. And it does seem like it's the Mario team, Mario Odyssey team, that's making this game, or a splinter team from that team when it comes to younger developers or something. We'll find out later overall. But yes, I'm very excited when it comes to Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think it's going to be a massive big seller, instantly selling 1 million units, and I think that this could have one of the biggest openings in Japan for a Donkey Kong game, because when it comes to the most recent Donkey Kong games in Japan, those do okay, but they don't have any explosion of numbers like we've seen in the past. I think that this is going to be a return to form where Donkey Kong actually explodes in popularity in Japan, and of course is going to be great worldwide as well. And based off of early impressions so far, this also seems to be like a big system seller worldwide. The universe universal appeal games of a character like Donkey Kong is going to be critical for the Nintendo Switch 2 to do really well and continue its dominance that it's had so far. So definitely good on that front too. What do you guys think about Donkey Kong Bonanza and everything else that we talked about here with the Nintendo Switch 2? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get all of my Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more as soon as it drops. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.